I want people to hear this and be like, this is a real conversation people are having. It's not like I was like, hey, so what do you think psychedelics, blah, blah, blah. That's what I was going for, but then I realized that I start relating it and making it about the people of it. That's what I love about psychedelics. It becomes about who you are. Looking into like the history of like this kind of stuff and the ways that it was developed for the betterment of mankind kind of stuff, and then it sort of got blown out into this alternative spectrum, right? Like more of a party thing. Yeah. Otherwise, like you tap into this sort of emotional frequency that like that reveals stuff about you.
Yeah, you feel more in tune with your spirit. Like with shrooms, it's more of like a spiritual thing for me. I feel like I'm thinking too much, or as opposed to like with acid, I feel like it's more like visual, like tripping. Like mushrooms, it's more like mental, I feel like. So like that's where you get into like bad trips. If you're not in a good mental state, you go into a bad trip and like eventually psychosis, where you're kind of just tripping the fuck out, which is not good. I've gone through that, but like pulled myself out. Like it's usually towards like the peak where you start like contemplating about a whole bunch of shit, and I go into philosophy mode where I'm just like thinking like I need to calm down. I just like recollect myself. So like I kind of take like my doctor's like teachings of like how to like meditate in a way.
It's so much easier to break down your past traumas when you're on psychedelics. You know, you're able to determine like why and, you know, how. You see the bad side of yourself and you start to question why. Like, why do you do those things? Why do I act a certain way? Or what made me this way? You know, you start going back down the ladder to figure out what made you as such. If you're able to go outside the box and look at yourself from a third person point of view.
That's what I've found really interesting also, is that like it's the sense of time, right? Because it's like, you know, because people always talk about how time is sort of this illusion, right? This like experience, especially like when I'm on, right? It's like there are things that like you realize, and I think it's easy to remember them because they are so triggering, but like you see the connections, like you said, like on that ladder, right? You realize the connections between your responses to things and very specific memories that almost sort of cause this response, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, and at first I used to just think like, oh, what a weird memory to have. It's because those memories are fundamental to creating this idea of yourself.
My most memorable experience is my first time doing mushrooms. I did a little over an eighth, which for my size was a lot. I felt I was superhuman. Like my vision was just like enhanced. Like it was widescreen. Like I could just see like a full 180 in front of me. And then we were laying in the fields and I fell asleep. I had the craziest dream, and then when I woke up, I thought I was still dreaming. So the rest of my trip felt like a lucid dream, where there was just this hint of like enhanced color. I was talking to so many different people because there was a party out of nowhere. The difference from like a dream to like reality was so blended together. Like I really didn't know what was real or not. Like I could just wake up and go back to reality, when in reality I'm tripping. I've never been so disconnected from real life, and that's what made me like realize how powerful psychedelics are. And it didn't scare me away. It just made me like, all right, jumped in the pool. Now I could go for a swim if I wanted to.
I'm gonna take 3 tabs of acid and see what happens. Anyways, I take those 3 tabs. It's like around 9 o'clock. I barely ate anything at Iron Age at that point. I'm just like, so I went to go chill, just listen to music. And like with the music thing on psychedelics, really take the time to listen to a song. You start hearing things you would never like normally listen to. I'm hearing all like these fucking bells. I'm hearing like lyrics I've never really like paid attention to. There's some snare that's in there making some beat that I've never noticed. Or like this fucking bass line. Take the time to like actually understand the lyrics, and we're just like, holy shit, this is what he's actually saying.
Me and my girlfriend, we would get high and we'd watch The Voice. And like, what's crazy is, so first off, we already liked The Voice. It's not like something we just stumbled into, but like, we just liked it in that general sense, right?
Yeah.
And then we noticed that when we're high and we're watching The Voice, we're like, yo, like you almost sort of understand what makes people good singers. You're like, oh, I didn't notice these little riffs you're doing before, or the way that like, you know, your tone transitions between multiple things. Honestly, because we would watch like lives and stuff. Seeing that performance, that experience, I think you tune out sort of other things, and you just now focus on what's grabbing your attention and how fascinating that is. I saw this interesting quote the other day that was like, there's no such thing as children and adults, right? Like you're just a being, and then that expands throughout time. Like you're the same person, you're just, you know, literally just bigger and bigger and older, and like how that experience sort of carries you throughout time, and like just that realization. But also, it's that stereotype, right? Like why psychedelics in a lot of cases end up with conversations like this. Like, you know, like I don't know if you've ever had this, but like conversations where you're talking about just really how big the fucking universe is, you know? Like how crazy it is, or if you lay out like a map of like a universe or a galaxy or whatever, it looks like the synapses in a brain and all that sort of stuff, like how big all that really is. I'm curious why it always feels like it feels like you're like unlocking a certain level of knowledge, right? You're like knocking at the door.
Yeah,
to something
I was gonna say that. Anytime I've gotten into like a really heavy trip, I always come to that point of like how small we really are compared to the vast universe, you know, like it. Well, like what you just said, you know, are you unlocking like a certain level in your brain?
Do you think this is something someone should experience at least once in their lifetime?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I feel like it would give you a different perspective on everything. Everything, yourself, people around you, the world, everything. It's like once you open the Pandora's box, you know, can't be closed. You know, it gives you more insight around you, and yourself. And I really think, for better or for worse, like, everyone should at least take it.
Yeah, I think I would say yeah, like based off of what we've been talking about this whole time, right? I think if in a perfect world, anyone who's really like at least moderately feels like they're in a comfortable place in their life, I think at the bare minimum, like even when I wasn't having strong effects before, I had to like double and triple my fucking doses and shit, like at the bare minimum there's just a level of joy to it. Yeah, you know, I'm experiencing a certain level of bliss that's sort of the echoes of the fact that I was watching Bob's Burgers an hour ago, right? Like, cause even just saying that out loud, being like, I'm still happy because of this like joyful cry I had watching Bob's Burgers 1 hour ago in the darkness, right? Like I'm like, even just saying that, it's hard to explain. I think this is what sucks, I think, about maturing through ADHD, right? Or drugs in general, right? So you gain the sort of awareness of like, of being free. You're like, I'm no longer doing things because of the way that I perceive that comes across. I'm now just doing things because this is what the fuck I want to do. Like, and obviously that it doesn't mean like trouncing other people's experiences. It just means like, to the best of my ability, I'm living my freest self.